Welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is about debriefs. Now, I'm not talking about taking my undies off, putting them on my head, and running around the room. I'm talking about debriefing the current events been happening over the last couple of weeks in the world of RC. So, if you want to stick around, we've got the Waikato Champs and Pro Invitational coming up, plus the FMAR 8 Scale Buggy World Championships from Spain. So, if you want to have a look, check over there, there, or there. I'll be right with you. Right. So, in this episode, we're going to start off with the Waikato Champs. We're going to talk about what an epic weekend it was. All the highs, the lows, and the good stuff that came out of it. And there was a lot of good stuff. I really enjoy going and hosting this event. It's always one on my calendar that I always talk to the guys at the Hamilton Radio Control Car Club well in advance if they want my services to come along and do all the microphony stuff and race control and be that person who just makes it easier for them to have their event. And this year, no different to any other year. Um, well, I suppose the only difference was is we didn't have the drift guys there this year, which was sorely missed. Having those guys with their epic cars, their awesome paint jobs, and their little vibe that they brought to the event was missed. It actually was missed. So the Hamilton Bridge City Sliders, I think they're called, have gone off and found their own location and are now running their event in a different venue. All good things sometimes come to an end, and for the Hamilton RC Car Club, that was just one of them. They've also got another thing that's ending this year, and that's their venue at the inline indoor skating ring. So they've been informed that they can no longer use that facility going forward in 2025 and beyond, which is a real shame because it was a really cool little place to be, warm, good venue, ample parking, easy to get to, all those really good things that you want for any event, regardless whether it's RC car, football, rugby, whatever. It ticked a lot of boxes. Unfortunately, that's changing. So next year, who knows what's around the corner. But let's talk about the Waikato Champs. And as I just said earlier, what an epic event. What an absolute epic event. Some amazing driving from the team from or drivers from around New Zealand who took the opportunity to come to this 2 day event. And it's a tight schedule to fit everything into 2 days with seeding, qualifying, and finals, plus the Pro Invitational thrown in as good measure. But look, before I talk about anything in terms of results, I want to talk about a couple of standout races that just blew my mind over the weekend. Just unbelievable. Now, the first one out of the rank, you've heard his name before if you've been following any of my off-road um, live streams or recordings, and if you happen to frequent the Frankton Model Shop. He has a surname of Toya, and he's the younger brother of Logan. This is Dylan Toya. This little man, I believe he's about 10 years old, raced in 5 classes, and took home the spoils in 3 of them. I think I'll have to fact check that. Check up there if I've got it right. Or over there. Or there. Somewhere over there. I'll put that over there. Who knows? Anyway, so this little guy can wheel. You know, from when I first met him on the in the racing scene, way back in 2019 at the first event held at the Waikato Indoor Inline Skating Rink. The little guy had some talent, made lots of mistakes. He's a cheeky little bugger, and that hasn't changed as he's gotten older. Um, but his driving has really improved. He's getting faster and faster, and I think with any tick of the clock, he will be beating Logan. Now Logan can wheel as well. He's had all that skill and all the prep work and all that sort of thing. drummed into him from his dad, Nathan, owner of Frankton Models. So, they've got a good base to build from. But watching Dylan over the weekend with how he carried himself, even when he was down, made some mistakes, he picked himself back up again and got on with it. So, he's a driver that you want to watch out for whenever you're going to an event or watching anything online. He can drive. He showed this at the AIR Triple C as well. Everybody has a bad day, couple of mistakes, that sort of thing, but he always manages to pick himself up and carry on. Um, yeah, so we'll go through some results once I finish my spiel. Um, but the next one I want to talk about is a young guy. I don't know how old he is. But his dad's been kicking around the RC world for quite some time now, and that's Jared Coombs and his young son Jackson. Now, this young guy has come out of nowhere for this year. I don't think he's been racing any more than 1, 2, maybe 3 years tops. Um, if you know how long he's been racing for, please pop that in the comments below and I can update and when I do follow up or next event, I can talk about that somewhat, which he will be at the next event, which is the Bay of Plenty Indoor Champ. So quick plug on that event. That's coming up Bathurst weekend in Tauranga. So it's another indoor carpet off-road event. And I'm looking forward to being there. Like the Hamilton, Waikato champs. I'll be doing updates on the days that I'm there, and I'll put together a highlights package, and I'll drop that onto my YouTube channel at the end of the event, or after the event is completed, and then I'll follow up with another debrief of that racing because I'll have some other bits and pieces by then as well. Anyway, young Jackson, he can drive. Four-wheel drive stock buggy. He was sensational to watch him drive in the finals. He really held his own. Managed to hold off pressure. He kept his cool, and he turned in some amazing laps. So he is a guy to watch out for. Another one that in man, I'm thinking 12, 18 months, we'll be taking home some silverware. I'm pretty sure of it. Or not silverware, the gold. He will be taking home some gold. So between him and Dylan, there's some great things coming with these youngsters coming through. Anyway, let's talk about the Waikato Champs for the 2024 edition. Um, we had good fields. A couple of classes were down a little bit, namely in four-wheel drive 8.5 buggy. Um, but all the other classes were well supported. Good group of people, great racing. Um, and from my point of view as race director, apart from a couple of little misdemeanors throughout the weekend, there was nothing really to report in terms of anyone being tardy or needing to go to the naughty corner, as I like to call it, which is the stop-go place for penalties. Didn't have to dish any out, which is great. I love that. I love to see good, clean racing. I love to see it when drivers readdress and if I can catch it while I'm racing, I will, not while I'm racing. If I can catch it while I'm commentating and that sort of thing, I will ask drivers to readdress. That's just my style. I like to see people race. And in off road, generally, if somebody gets an advantage, it's not, and he's done it through doing something silly, like corner cutting or bunting somebody off the track. Normally, it gets readdressed fairly quickly with off road with the return of serve. And, I'm not saying absolutely drill somebody, but hey, look, if a bit of rubbing's racing, nothing wrong with that in my books. It makes it interesting, makes it fun. So let's run down our top three winners for each class. So two-wheel drive 10.5 buggy, Alan Louis, Mr. Smooth from Auckland, the world's fastest Tyler, and pretty good paint job, body painter as well. He was in third place. Second place went to Joe Daniels, another driver who just sort of bubbles away in the background there and then pops up when you least expect him. And then taking the win, young Dylan Toya. He's our champion for 2024. And 10.5 two-wheel drive truck, we have Alan Buchan. Now, this gentleman is another person who should be spoken about a lot more. Every time he comes out and races, he improves time and time again, and he really, really deserved his third place. Only Scott Brownhill, who was in second, was really only holding him back just through his knowledge and skill set that he has. And then our winner, Jonathan Coluccio, another Auckland driver, president of the Auckland Radio Control Car Club. He's trying to get something happening at the Collindale Park in terms of an off-road track and maybe something a bit more mega in time in years to come. But he's working hard in the background on that. Drove well. He was also in the Invitational as well, so good to see that. Then we got 17.5 two-wheel drive buggy, so basically stock class. Third place went to the most winningest driver of the Waikato Champs, Shane Gollop. He drove pretty well over the weekend, had a few misdemeanors, and just didn't quite string things together in his normal style, but he still managed to podium. So, epic driving from Shane. Jared Sorensen, all the way from Tauranga, he was also running in the invitational class as well. Just getting a few laps in. His business is Sended RC, and he's the Mugen distributor for those guys. Does a good job. And then Alan Buchan in first place, taking a win. Drove really well all weekend. Didn't really dominate, but he did enough to do what he needed to do when it came time to pulling up the spoils and taking that win. So he did exceptionally well. Next up, we have two-wheel drive 7M5 truck. Now, this is a class that's ebbed and flowed in numbers, and it's always been a good class to watch. You get some great racing in it. And we weren't disappointed this year with Alex Beck taking third spot from Auckland, David West taking the number two spot, and Craig Puller, our farmer from the far north, taking the win. He was had his work cut out for him though. Things went pear shaped very early on for Craig in race number one of the A mains, where he was bundled out the back door and had to really drive the wheels off his Schumacher truck to get back into contention. But he managed to, you know, get the points together to take overall honours. So well done to Craig. He's the club president of the AIR Triple C, so he knows what it's like to put on meetings like this. And it's good to see him out there enjoying himself, driving and taking some trophies. Next up, we have Vintage Class. Now, this year, this is the second time they've run it. They've done a combined two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive class. Still dominated by Shoemakers. So whether you had the Top Cat, Pro Cat, or Cougar, they were the cars to have. But it was good to see that there were some team associated cars out there, and three OG Laser ZX Kyosho's in the field, which was really cool to see. Some OG, not a re-release, but genuine original cars run by the Rick and Dan Bone, and also oh, who was the other one run by? I think it was run by Brian Jordan. um, Rick and Dan Bone, Rick even running his with a retro transmitter running on 27 megahertz crystals, which is something that the younger generation won't know what the hell they are. They just expect things to plug in and work. Crystals, you used to back in the day have to worry about what frequencies others were on, and you couldn't had to put your transmitter in a pound after each race, so you couldn't turn it on and interfere with someone's race. All these different things. I, some great racing in vintage. So Matthew Fitness, another young hard charger out of Auckland, coming in third place. Chris Gormley. I don't know too much about Chris. I know every time he's in a race meeting that I've been at and commentated on, he seems to do pretty well. And then our evergreen with the green pants, Steve Looms in his golden pink Cougar. He rounds out, taking out the one spot again. Like most people, he had his work cut out for him. A few little mistakes in a couple of the races. He really had to push hard, but in the end, he prevailed to take the win. Now we move into the four-wheel drive classes. Actually, no, I'll skip into juniors. So, like I was saying beforehand, there's some great up-and-comers. And this year, juniors, I don't recall if we ran it last year, but it's really good to see we had a field of 8 drivers of all different skill sets. And it was really good to see them all out there having a go, giving it a good push. And so our top three, Matthew Fitness taking out that 3 spot again with some exceptional driving. Another young up and comer from Auckland, Casey Hawkins, he also drove exceptionally well over the weekend to take second spot in juniors. And then Jackson Coombs, who I spoke about a little earlier on, taking the win, uh, kind of dominating because his fastest run time was a lap ahead of everybody else. But he really showed his skill set, and such a polite young man when he came up to ask me a couple of questions. Really good to see that. So we'll jump back to four-wheel drive now. 17.5 buggy, four-wheel drive. Here's some familiar names we've just been talking about. Three spot goes to Alan Buchan. So again, this gentleman driving exceptionally well over the weekend, making his four-wheel drive 17.5 buggy work for him. Second spot, the young man Jackson Coombs. Again, he took a win um, over Dylan, and he just again exceptional driving, handled the pressure, had good pace, a one to watch. Then we've got our winner for 75 four-wheel drive buggy, Dylan Toyer, taking the championship out. So I think that's three of the five that he was in. Again, this little guy just knows how to drive. Not even on the Saturday, he managed to get glue in his eye. He's going to hate me for saying this. Even that didn't slow him down. After a quick trip down to the A&E to make sure he hadn't glued everything shut permanently, he was back on his form with his just how he is with his attitude and his that sort of thing. Great young man, and a good personality to go with it. All right, so we'll move on to four-wheel drive point 0.5 buggy. There's some familiar names again. Third spot goes back to Alan Louis again, Mr. Smooth. We actually didn't think he was going to turn up on Sunday because he was so late getting there. He almost missed his final, but he drove exceptionally well, as he always does. Joe Daniels popping back into the two spot. Joe, as I said earlier on, has this good little knack of just popping up where you least expect to see him. And it's great to see him get a second spot. And our winner, Dylan Toyer. Not much more I can say about this. He owned it. Whilst he didn't win outright in each race, he did enough to get the one spot and bank 3 points. So did very well. Um, so we'll talk about the Pro Invitational class now. I will just change the screen I'm looking at for the results. So just bear with me a sec. A little bit of elevator music. Time for a wee drinky poo because I can, and I'm going to edit this bit out. So let's not worry about that. Okay. Right. Pro Invitational for the 2024 version. We were running it in two heats, two different classes. So they did two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, very similar to the Reedy Race of Champions, which those who watch a lot of online content on RC cars would have seen this in the past. Um, Great format. Um, Two classes, run over 6 rounds, points points to win. So one through to 10, one being the best you can get for winning, and all the way down to 10. So we had some good drivers come through for this year. I'll just run through in the two-wheel drive class. So we had Kelvin Yong from Auckland, Jared Sorensen, who I mentioned earlier from Tauranga, Casey Dawson making an appearance along with Gail Buno Ware, Scott Brownhill, William Hargraves, Jonathan Coluccio, Logan Toyer, and Jared Mint from Australia. So Jared Mint is one of the people behind the Australian indoor off-road carpet series that they've trying to get going over there. So he's come out to have a sample of what we do here, and he's hoping that a few of us will go over next year. Now, just on that, we had a few drivers head over to Sydney at the beginning of the year. That was John and Matthew Fitness. Oh, I'm sorry. Three, two, one. That was John and Matthew Fitness along with Craig Puller. They went over for the weekend to trial it all out. And so Jared's come out to have a look at what we're doing here, hopefully taking back some ideas and also hopefully telling them how good our event was, and bringing some more people out for 2025, wherever that's going to end up. So Jared, real nice young man, very polite, very helpful. Helped a lot of people out who are running. He's a team associated driver, so helping some people out there with getting their vehicles up to speed and giving suggestions for change and all that sort of thing. So in two-wheel drive, third place went to Jonathan Coluccio. Logan Toya taking the second spot, and Jared Mint taking number one. Now, Logan and Jared went toe to toe all weekend long. Saw some epic racing. Um, right from the get go, Jared showed how good he was, with some amazing moves, amazing passes along the way. Logan pushed him though. Well, it wasn't a walkover. He kept him honest, especially in two-wheel drive. So that was really cool to see that, in other events where we've had um, um, Australians come out, they normally dust the floor with us, but we're really starting to show that what we're doing here in New Zealand is paying off. We're getting a good level of races that a want to and can go racing overseas and can hold it with these big people. So that's really cool to see. And we hope to see some of these people come back to New Zealand at some point. Okay, so the final, let's do that again. Three, two, one. Okay, so Pro Invitational four-wheel drive. Uh, Again, some epic racing with the drivers. So same drivers across both classes. William Hargraves managed to move up into third spot with four-wheel drive. Logan Toya took out second place, and Jarrett Mead took out number one. Whilst Jarrett almost dominated with the most amount of wins, and Logan pushed him hard the whole way. And I have to say, with watching some of Jared's driving on that wall ride in the four-wheel drive buggy, doing some epic passes on the inside line on the wall ride, showing complete car control, not getting too much air, staying off the pipes, getting that power down. Initially in his practice sessions, he was all over the place, rolling and crashing and what have you, but he got his iron pretty quick and he, deservedly ended up winning uh, the whole event for the Pro Invitational Series. So congratulations to him. We look forward to what's going to happen for 2025. And yeah, we hope he comes back and we hope he brings some extra people with him as well, just to really elevate that level of our racing here in New Zealand. Because we get these good racing happening, and it eventually flows on to down the classes and other people that want to aspire and get there. So it's really cool, really cool to see. Okay, that concludes our debrief on the 2024 edition of the Waikato and Pro Invitational Championship. Uh, it's been my pleasure to host this event again. Like I said, always love it. One thing I do have to say, and this is not a paid content or anything like that, is the food truck that the Waikato team brought along for the third year running was Dynamite Dogs. Now, they do hot dogs, it's in their name, Dynamite Dogs, American style, bun, sauce, that sort of thing. But they also do an epic range of burgers, nachos, and other bits and pieces as well, cold drinks. If you want them for an event, I'll put some details over there somewhere. So I vaguely point around the room like a muppet where you can get a hold of them. I know last weekend just gone, they were at the AIR Triple C feeding the team there, and I'm sure they'd be very happy for any business to come along. So if you've got an event coming up, RC related or not, holler out to them and get them alongside. They're a good crew, husband and wife team, pretty dry sense of humour. So just be aware of that. Lots of sarcasm. Be aware of that. But good people, very good people. Wow. Anyway, okay, next up we're going to debrief is the 2024 1/8 Nitro Buggy World Championships. I'm not going to go on too much about the event itself and about how David, I want to say Oregano, that's not his name, Organo, um, how he, he's the first driver to do a three-peat. Admittedly, he had a 2-year break in between first and second because of COVID. But how this team associated won this event. I want to talk about Tiregate. Now, this is the third IFMA event where there's been issues with tyres in different respects. I want to know your feedback, and if you've happened to have seen any of the coverage on YouTube over the weekend or Reddit and Red RC, put some links again, vaguely pointing around the room. Yeah, wave my hands around in the air like I just don't care. Anyway, so if you're wanting, I'd like to hear your comments about these thoughts. So 2 years ago, at the same track in Spain where they had the 2022 1/8 Nitro champs, there was an issue with tyres. I think mainly around supply and getting them into the country, so it left people a little shy on tyres and that sort of thing. Fast forward to last year with the 1/10 electric off-road buggy champs held in Arizona, where there weren't enough tyres for the event. Now, this event is a spec tyre event, and for whatever reason, they didn't have enough tyres, so they had to chop and change on how things were working. Fast forward to this year, back to the same event as in 2022 for 1/8 Nitro off-road buggy, and tyre wear was the issue. Now, they had IFMA had a protest from a tyre supplier about wear rate. So they have a rule about a maximum and a minimum diameter. And well after the event had started, IFMA issued a notice to all drivers that they were going to check the tyres at the start of a race and at the end. And if you didn't meet that minimum criteria, you were DQ'd. Now, eventually, I think they saw the right of their wrongs and decided to drop that and only take the cars on the way up, so onto the track. Now this has come about, and there's plenty of footage and plenty of people talking about it on the socials and that sort of thing, where this particular brand who did protest it had a slightly bigger tire, so they had more tread, so they were in a better position. But the track was very abrasive on tires, and nobody knew what was going to happen after a 1 hour run. So normally nitro finals, especially in the FMAR champs, will run for an hour. Other things like the ABC champs that we had here in New Zealand earlier in the year were only 45 minutes. So an extra 15 minutes on the tyres on a hard surface, which was high degradation to the tyre. And there's some photos which if I can grab some, I'll put them again behind me, over here, over there, maybe just in there, showing what some of them look like at the end of the 1 hour race. Um, I think from where I sit personally, the rule makers making a change to the ruling or changing their process once the meeting is started is not right. Um, if you start your meeting one way, you have to carry on. And it shouldn't be processed by manufacturers. Manufacturers are important, don't get me wrong, very important to these events and very important to us as racers of getting new products and new innovations and all that sort of cool stuff. But I don't think manufacturers should be controlling how an event goes. That's just my point of view. If you've got any comments, put them down below, down there. Let me know. Keep them clean and safe. And yeah, well, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. Um, yeah, but yeah, as I say, I don't think events should be controlled by, like, if there's a protest that needs to be done, it should be a protest from a competitor for whatever the problem is. but it shouldn't come from the manufacturers. IFMA and our whole RC World Championships is about people, and it's about having a joy of a hobby. Is it time for 1/8 Nitro big events like the Worlds to go to a spec tire or control tire and become a control tire event? That opens a whole lot of pitfalls and that sort of thing. But they've been doing it for years with touring cars. They do it every year where they have a control tyre. They do a control tyre, sorry, that's electric touring cars. They do control tyre for IC on road, so 200 millimeter and 1/8 scale Can Am. They do it for 1/10 scale electric where it's a control tyre. So why not make 1/8? I mean, yeah, it's cool that it's, hey, we've got all these cool innovation ideas, and it's the people that come up with the best solution and about racing and about all that sort of innovation and that sort of thing. But is it the time now where we just need to go, here's the track, there's the tyres, you've got X amount of sets, go racing? Works in motorsport, in full size motorsport, so I can't see why it can't work in 1/8 nitro off road. But like I said, leave your comments down below. And I'll check back with you later in the week to see what comments I've got and see if we can't find any more conjecture. So, anyway, I've chewed up enough time waffling on about these two events. We've got the Tony Stevens Memorial Club Classic coming up this weekend at North Harbour Stadium, and then the following weekend is the Southland Champs, which is a dual class or dual discipline event. So it's 1/10 off road, electric off road, and 1/10 electric on road meeting, all the way down in Invercargill. I was hoping to go, but it just hasn't worked out this year with work commitments. So I'm hoping to go next year, and we're hoping, well, actually, what we're hoping for is that they can successfully hold a 1/10 electric national on-road championships in 2025. We're hoping that can come off. They've got a really cool all-weather temperature control area they can race in. And it sounds like it's going to be epic. So it's going to be a hell of a roadie, but we'll keep you up to date with that. I will start looking at talking to some of these people about these events, maybe getting them on the show, doing a few bits and pieces in terms of interviews and see how we go. But that'll do for me from today. I'm starting to run out of ideas. Um, I've only got a few notes on my piece of paper in front of me of what I wanted to talk about today. I've managed to do 33 minutes of waffle. So I'll let you guys get back to your day, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Be safe out there and have fun on the track. And we look forward to talking to you again soon. Stay cool. Cheers.